Hello guys, and welcome to another video. And now that we have the confirmed details for Path of Exile's 3.24 Necropolis League, that means that Affliction's days are numbered. And this got me thinking about Affliction and all of the stuff that it provided to us in 3.23 and what exactly of that content could make it into the core game in 3.24 or beyond. So let's take a look, beginning with the Ascendancies, the Wildwood Ascendancies. And when we're looking at the Wildwood Ascendancies, I think that the chances of the Ascendancies going into the game wholesale, where they just get added on top of your existing Ascendancy, that is most definitely not going to go into the core game. I think it's way too much power creep. But I think parts of the Ascendancies could make their way into the core game in other ways. For example, the Warlock Ascendancy has the Sanguimancy branch, which is like blood magic. The Sanguimancy notable basically worked exactly the same as the Blood Magic Keystone, but it also had the 50% increased life preservation efficiency of skills. And then we had the Crimson Power node, which branched off. That one removed your energy shield, lowered your health gain per level, but allowed maximum energy shield from equipped armor items to provide maximum life instead. And then the other node, which branched off from Sanguimancy, was Cannibalized Faith, that adds physical damage equal to 75% of life cost to your spells. I think these would be really interesting additions to the core passive tree, either on the Blood Magic Keystone itself or on a branch that comes off behind the Blood Magic Keystone. I personally would love to see the increased life preservation efficiency of skills going directly onto the Keystone, and then perhaps some of the other stuff could appear behind it. But that would be an interesting addition to the game. Blood Magic does need a buff, and I think this would be really nice. And then the Warlock Ascendancy also had the 3 abilities that you could choose from. There's the Pacify Curse, which curses a bunch of targets in an area, and then does nothing for a period, and then after a certain amount of duration has expired, it makes those targets deal no damage. There's also the Penance Mark skill, which makes it so that hits against a target causes enemy phantasms to spawn. And there's the Affliction skill as well, which makes minions take physical damage over time at an accelerating rate and making them explode at a certain threshold. I could see those abilities going into the game as new skill gems. That's definitely a possibility. And I think the same could be said for the Oath of the Magi's Bark Skin skill. That one could go into the game as a skill gem as well. But as for the rest of the Ascendancies, I don't think they're really going to make it into the game. And then we have the Charms and Tinctures. Well, I think if the Ascendancies are gone, these make less sense. The Charms can't really be used if there's no Ascendancies, so I don't think they're going to be going into the game, and they're just way too much power creep as well. Tinctures are an interesting one. I'm not sure if they're going to make it into the core game. I think that Tinctures have potential as standalone items. I think they provide quite an interesting trade-off where you have to use them in a flask slot, so perhaps they make it into the core game, but I'm not too sure on that one. Then, of course, there's the corpses that come from the Breaker of Oaths. I think these are an interesting one because some of them are so fun and build enabling that they make great additions to the game, even if they require some balancing before going in. And I think I'd like to see some of these going into the core game in some form. They don't all have to go in, but some of them going in would be great. And one comment that I saw on a video recently actually talked about these being boss drops, and I think that would be really interesting if they became rare boss drops. As I said, they don't need to all go into the game, but maybe keeping some of them around would be fun. Other than that, I could actually see the corpses going into the game in future league content, so you kind of gain access to them in that way. So for example, we could see things like the Dark Marionettes as enemies in a future league, and then once you kill one, you could grab that Spectre. But we'll have to see on that. And then, of course, we have the unique items that came into the game. 3 of them dropped specifically from the Wildwood mechanic, and 4 dropped from the King in the Mist boss fight. Now, I think the 3 that dropped from the Viridian Wildwood will probably just go straight into the core drop pool of the game. None of them were that powerful, and not many builds used them in the end, but I'm sure they'll go into the core game, and then in many leagues to come, they'll crop up in a powerful meta build. And as for the 4 that dropped from the King in the Mist, of course, one of them is the That Which Was Taken jewel, a very, very powerful jewel if it has the right mods on it. I could see those coming back because I actually think they probably want to keep the King in the Mist fight in the game. It's a cool fight, and they could provide access to that fight through a unique map drop. And I even saw some people speculating that it could be added to Ritual, as the Ritual mechanic has ties there. And I think that would be a nice addition to Ritual. And perhaps it could be something that you could spec into on the Atlas tree to have more chance to progress towards the King in the Mists fight. Lastly, there's the Viridian Wildwood mechanic itself, of course, where you enter the Wildwood, you collect Wisps, which empower enemies in the map, and you interact with the NPCs. Maybe you even find the Nameless Seer and grab a unique. This mechanic, I think, is probably not going to go core, because if the NPCs are not there to provide their Ascendancies and provide things like charms and tinctures, there's a lot less interaction going on there, and I think that the Wisps would need a significant rebalance if they were to go into the core game. They just provide far too much loot in their current form. It is just a little bit too busted, and I think it wouldn't be a great addition to the core game if it just went straight in as it is. But perhaps with a rebalance, it is possibly going into the game. We'll have to wait and see with that one. But personally, I don't see the Viridian Wildwood mechanic going core. What about you? What do you think will go core from Affliction? Do you think anything will go core? Maybe you think it will all be canned? Let me know in the comment section below. And thank you to my patrons for your support. If you'd like to support the growth of this channel, you can by visiting the new Patreon that I've set up. The link is in the description below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.